Hello, my name is ShonenBoy382. For decades, Marvel has had many faces since its beginnings at Timely Comics, whether it be Captain America, Iron Man, the Hulk, and even teams like the Fantastic Four. But in my opinion, the best character that has been the face of Marvel for over 60 years is the amazing webhead himself, Spider-Man. For years, he has shaped Marvel and fans alike. Join me as we go through his origin, his development, and even the stories that further define the character. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Give it a like. Be sure to subscribe if you do. Before I continue, I do want to address that this video will be dedicated to comic book creator Jerry Conway, who has recently passed away at the age of 73. I learned the news when I finished writing the script, so I just wanted to dedicate this video to the co-creator of characters like the Punisher and Ben Reilly. My condolences go out to his family and friends. Thank you and enjoy the video. Please be respectful. To explain the development of Spider-Man, it is important to mention the co-creator Steve Ditko. Born on November 2nd, 1927, Stephen John Ditko was influenced by his father's love of newspaper comic strips. His interest in comics was accelerated by the introduction of Batman in 1939. Ditko worked for other comic book companies like Harvey Comics, Prize Comics, and Charlton Comics. In late 1955, he began illustrating comic books for Atlas Comics, the successor to Timely Comics and predecessor to Marvel. With his collaboration with former Excelsior writer-editor Stan Lee, Ditko worked on many stories like Strange Tales, Strange Worlds, Tales of Suspense, and Tales of Astonish. I guess they were all tales to tell. In 1961, the newly established Marvel Comics was open to the world when the Fantastic Four was introduced. Following the Fantastic Four's success, Stan Lee was looking for a new superhero idea, eventually noting the teenage demand for comic books. He cited the pulp crime fighter the Spider as a great influence for a new character. Ditko and Stan Lee's collaboration led to the release of Amazing Fantasy issue 15 in August of 1962, introducing the world to Spider-Man. Notably, Jack Kirby worked on the issue's cover. In his debut, Peter Parker is depicted as a shy, unamusing high school student who lives with his Aunt May and Uncle Ben. While attending a demonstration of radioactivity at a lab, Peter fails to notice a spider dropping into a, quote, radioactive ray. The spider bites him and soon dies. Peter soon learns that he has inherited the irradiated spider's speed, strength, and climbing ability, as well as a sixth sense that would eventually be known as the Spider Sense. Amazed by his abilities, Peter participated in a wrestling ring and takes down Crusher Hogan. At home, Peter creates a red and blue spider-themed costume and the iconic web shooters, christening himself Spider-Man. One evening, after a television appearance, Peter, dressed up as Spider-Man, finds a guard chasing after a thief, but refuses to help him, saying that he was, quote, through being pushed around by anyone. Some days later, Peter returns home only to learn that his Uncle Ben was murdered by a burglar. Upon catching the murderer, Peter realizes that he was the thief he refused to stop. After leaving the burglar webbed up for the cops, Peter realizes that it was his fault that Uncle Ben is dead. From there, he learned that with great power, there must also come great responsibility. Later comics would change this line to the iconic, with great power comes great responsibility. The first issue of Amazing Spider-Man featured Spider-Man's first villain, Dmitry Smerdyakov, also known as the Chameleon. In the same issue, Spider-Man tries to join the Fantastic Four. The Spider-Man comics during the Silver Age saw the appearance of villains like Dr. Octopus, Vulture, Sandman, Mysterio, Electro, and Kraven the Hunter. 6 of these villains would at one point form the Sinister Six. Other notable characters around the time were high school tormentor Flash Thompson and fellow classmate Liz Allen. Peter would find work as a photographer for the Daily Bugle, managed by John Jonah Jameson Jr. Jameson would always slander Spider-Man's name every moment he could. It is later revealed that he envies Spider-Man because the web-slinger, quote, represents everything that Jameson is not. Betty Brant, who worked as secretary of the Daily Bugle, eventually dated Peter Parker when she was impressed by Peter's kindness while he was taking care of his ill Aunt May. Betty and Liz, who secretly had a crush on Peter, would develop a rivalry due to their love for him. One time, after racing to Peter's house, the two are in for a shock as they meet Mary Jane Watson, who is described as a movie star by Betty. Eventually, Betty and Peter would break up. Amazing Spider-Man issues 31 through 33 featured the story arc If This Be My Destiny. This story featured two important characters, Harry Osborn and Gwen Stacy. In this story arc, Peter starts his enrollment at Empire State University and is worried about his sick Aunt May. Dr. Kirk Connors, also known as the Lizard, fixes May's blood to help save her, but he and Peter realize that it will take hours to develop. Meanwhile, a mysterious criminal mastermind named the Master Planner begins causing trouble. The Master Planner is later revealed to be Dr. Octopus. Later on, Peter finds Dr. Octopus's underwater hideout. During Peter and Doc Ock's fight, the building starts to crumble. In an iconic scene in this story arc, Peter gets stuck under a massive piece of machinery and is unwilling to let Aunt May down. Gathering all the strength he has, he lifts the machinery off of him, a legendary moment that represents Peter's heroism. Ditko's design for Spider-Man was to have him develop confidence in his self-identity, while further maturing the character. Eventually, Steve Ditko stopped illustrating the Amazing Spider-Man comics after issue 38. This split up the power duo of Ditko and Stan Lee. In Ditko's place was John Romita Sr., who soon became the new artist. This led to more elaborate panels for the Spider-Man comics. Amazing Spider-Man issue 39 featured the story How Green Was My Goblin. In this story, Green Goblin plots revenge on Spider-Man and hopes to reveal his secret identity to the world. Norman Osborn, the father of Harry Osborn and CEO of Oscorp, is introduced for the second time. His first appearance was in Amazing Spider-Man issue 23. Eventually, Green Goblin becomes the first person to know Spider-Man's true identity. At the end of the issue, the Green Goblin reveals his true identity, Norman Osborn. Eventually, during Spider-Man and Norman's fight, Norman loses his memory, forgetting that he was Green Goblin and that Peter was Spider-Man. In issue 42, Mary Jane makes her full appearance. When she meets Peter, Mary Jane says, quote, "Face it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot." Gwen Stacy and MJ soon start a rivalry for Peter's heart, a more tense feud than Liz and Betty's rivalry. Eventually, Gwen and Peter start dating after Flash Thompson, who was dating Gwen, leaves to fight overseas. Amazing Spider-Man issue 5 featured the story The Parents of Peter Parker. Parker learns that his parents were traitors to America, information he refuses to accept. It is later revealed that the Red Skull framed Peter's parents. In Amazing Spider-Man issue 366, the Red Skull who murdered Peter's parents is revealed to be a successor named Albert Malik. Peter learns that his father was a spy for America, clearing his parents' names. Amazing Spider-Man issue 90 featured the story And Death Shall Come. This saw the death of Gwen Stacy's father, Police Captain George Stacy. He saves a kid from falling debris during Spider-Man's fight with Doc Ock and reveals to the wall crawler that he knows his true identity before dying. In 1970, the Department of Health, Education and Welfare of the Nixon administration asked Marvel Comics to publish a story and present the dangers of drug use. Amazing Spider-Man issue 96, which began the Green Goblin Reborn story arc, depicts Harry Osborn's drug addiction. The message from the comic hits hard today. Usually, the 100th issue of a comic book series serves as a milestone for the character. In Amazing Spider-Man issue 100, Peter develops a potion that was supposed to cure him from his spider powers. By the end of the comic, Peter comes across a stunning realization. He now has 4 extra arms. Peter calls for Kirk Connors, and this leads to their battle against Morbius the Living Vampire. Peter uses Morbius's blood to cure himself of his 6-arm problem. Eventually, Gary Conway began scripting Amazing Spider-Man when he was 19 years old. His run began with issue 111. In 1973, Amazing Spider-Man issue 121 began a storyline that would end the Silver Age of comics. Norman remembers his goblin identity, kidnaps Gwen Stacy, and takes her to a bridge. Gwen is pushed off the bridge and Peter shoots his web at her legs, catching her. As he pulls her up, he thinks he saved her, but later realizes one shocking revelation. She is dead. The end of the comic reveals the title of the story arc, The Night Gwen Stacy Dies. In the next issue, Norman is killed by his own Collider, and his goblin costume is taken by his son Harry. Gwen Stacy's death shocked the American comic book community and led to a subsequent tendency that was referred to as the Gwen Stacy syndrome. And from there, a new, gritty Bronze Age of comics began. The Bronze Age of the Amazing Spider-Man comics saw the appearances of many interesting characters, like Frank Castle, also known as the Punisher, Felicia Hardy, also known as Black Cat, and Cassandra Webb, also known as Madam Web. Amazing Spider-Man issue 129 featured the Punisher as an assassin hired by the Spider-Man villain, the Jackal. He would later clash with other comic book characters like Daredevil. Black Cat was a burglar who became one of Spider-Man's love interests for a time. So there you go, Marvel Rivals fans. I have mentioned Felicia Hardy. Cassandra Webb was a telepathic and precognitive mutant who was blind and paralyzed. In 1975, Conway ended his run on Amazing Spider-Man at issue 149. 1984's Secret Wars event saw Spider-Man being sent to Battleworld and receiving a black suit. This suit would be revealed as the Venom symbiote. Occasionally, MJ and Peter would have an on-and-off-again relationship during this era, but they eventually got married in Amazing Spider-Man Annual Issue 21 in 1987. Raven's Last Hunt, written by J.M. DeMatteis, saw the final battle between Spider-Man and Kraven the Hunter. Kraven the Hunter, whose real name is Sergei Kravenov, was the half-brother of the Chameleon, Spider-Man's first villain. This storyline was labeled as one of the darkest Spider-Man stories in comic book history, with Kraven ending his own life at the end of the comic. During this time, comics got darker because of comics like Watchmen. The storyline also explored themes of how morality and the fear of death informed different aspects of Spider-Man's character. Eventually, Peter would find out that his black suit was alive, and the Venom symbiote would bond to Eddie Brock, a reporter who had his reputation ruined by Spider-Man. That will be a video for Venom though. So, what storyline was popular in the 90s? Oh, so the 90s were definitely the worst era in comic book history. It was loud, had unnecessary usage of power armor, and had horrible storylines. One of the most infamous storylines was the Spider-Man clone saga. It revolved around Peter Parker encountering many of his clones. Ben Reilly, who would take on the name of Scarlet Spider, was the clone that appeared back in Amazing Spider-Man issue 149 in 1975. The Clone Saga also featured the appearance of the unsuccessful clone, Kane, the death of Ben Reilly, and the surprising return of Norman Osborn. The ending of the Clone Saga was messy, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm glad I mentioned it. The only important part is that Norman comes back. The beginning of the 21st century made way for an ultimate introduction to a new beginning. Ultimate Spider-Man issue 1, written by Brian Michael Bendis, reset Spider-Man's origin story and brought us to a new universe known as Earth 1610, also known as the Ultimate Universe. Not only did it reinvent the friendly neighborhood superhero, but it also grounded his enemies and even allies. 2002 saw the release of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, celebrating the web-slinger's 60th anniversary. The film starred Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man and would spawn 2 more sequels. There were plans for a 4th installment, but Sony canceled it. Marvel's Civil War event saw Spider-Man's identity revealed to the public under the Superhero Registration Act. This led to the One More Day storyline. In this storyline, Peter and MJ make a deal with the demon Mephisto, who is given their marriage in an effort to save a dying Aunt May. Mephisto erases the world's knowledge of Peter's secret identity as a result. This would lead to the Brand New Day storyline. Meanwhile, back in the Ultimate Universe, Peter Parker was murdered by the Green Goblin. This would make way for the appearance of Miles Morales, who would later meet Peter of the main universe, Earth 616. 2012 saw the release of The Amazing Spider-Man, directed by Mark Webb. It starred Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man and would spawn a sequel, but it would never receive a third installment. The Dying Wish storyline, written by Dan Slott, saw a dying Dr. Octopus swapping bodies with Peter Parker. This led to the infamous Superior Spider-Man series. During this time, Dr. Octopus, in Peter's body, founded Parker Industries. Eventually, Peter was given his body back. Slott continued his Spider-Man run during the Marvel Now imprint. Peter soon learns of Cindy Moon, who was bitten by the same spider that bit him. Cindy would take on the name Silk. This would be a lead-up to the popular Spider-Verse event. In this storyline, Peter Parker and other alternate versions of himself fight Morlun and his family, the Inheritors. This story featured many spider people from across the multiverse and even Dr. Octopus, who at the time was still in Peter's body because time travel. This storyline featured many alternate versions of Spider-Man. Spider-Gwen of Earth 65 hails from a universe where she was bitten by the radioactive spider. Peter Porker hails from Earth 8311, inhabited by humanoid animals. Porker was a spider bitten by a radioactive pig, becoming a pig with the abilities of a spider, funnily enough. Mayday Parker of Earth 928 is Peter Parker's daughter from an alternate future who would take on the name Spider-Girl. Finally, there's Miguel O'Hara, the Spider-Man of the year 2099. Before the Spider-Verse event, there was Edge of Spider-Verse, which was a real lead-up to the main event. Gerard Way of My Chemical Romance served as writer for issue 5, and with Jake Wyatt, introduced the character Penny Parker. So you could thank My Chemical Romance for this Evangelion-inspired anime character. 2016 saw the release of Captain America Civil War, the 13th installment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This also saw the debut of the MCU's version of Spider-Man, played by Tom Holland. Tom Holland's Spider-Man would receive his own movies following his appearance in Civil War. The fourth film, Brand New Day, will be released on July 31st, 2026, and unlike the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 4 film, it has not been cancelled by Sony. At the same time, Spider-Man will be celebrating its 1000th issue. On June 29, 2018, tragedy struck when Steve Ditko passed away. His legacy lives on as Spider-Man continues becoming a hero for all to this day. Now, there are other Spider-Man stories that I did not mention, mainly because I wanted to introduce these stories in a separate section. As for my recommendation, it would be Spider-Man and Spider-Man Blue. In my opinion, they serve as love letters for the webhead himself. In my opinion, Spider-Man has been the face of Marvel for over 60 years. While I did not feature every Spider-Man story, I wanted to talk about my favorite storylines that further shape the character, even if it's the storylines I don't like. What do you guys think? What is your favorite storyline? Leave it in the comments below. Anyways, thank y'all for watching. If you like it, be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you enjoy content like this. Also, follow me on Twitch in the description below. Hope you enjoyed this video. You guys are amazing, and I'll see you next time. See ya.